So I wanted to quickly dive into the women's 100 meters and 200 meter dash fields as we're kind of looking towards the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo. And this is specifically coming off what we just saw at the Miramar Invitational a few weeks back, where Julien Alfred just took over Shericka Jackson, beating her running 36.05 seconds, where Shericka Jackson ran 36.13 seconds. You know, Shericka Jackson, she's coming off injury last year, so don't expect her to be in immaculate form. But Julien Alfred has really been, you know, going at it when talking about the 300, the 400 as well, you know, these longer distances, which I think really does indicate that she's looking to improve, of course, not only her 100 meter, you know, strength and success there, but also what she might be able to do at the 200 meters. So wanted to kind of just get a lay of the land in terms of who are some of the top contenders as we look forward to the 2025 World Championships, the outdoor season as a whole. We're still in the midst of Grand Slam track. We're still in the midst of, you know, the regular season going on, but who are some of the women that we should be keeping an eye out for? Both sides of those who have been dominating and those who are also kind of like getting back into form and might really need to be recovering from injury or, you know, looking to really be competitors once again. So let's start off with Julien Alfred. Julien Alfred, of course, is the Olympic 100 meter champion from Paris last year, beat out a very, very strong field, but she ran it in pouring rain, won it in 10.72 seconds, which is her personal best, making her, of course, one of the fastest, you know, women in history. And like I said, she beat out a very high quality field. Also in the 200, she got the silver medal behind Gabby Thomas, and, you know, her personal best, which came from the London Diamond League, which was 21.86 seconds. So Julien Alfred is a true double threat. And the big thing that, in my opinion, makes Julien Alfred right now probably the favorite going into the World Championships for at least a 100 meter dash gold is because she's doing this, you know, these longer distances early in her season to prepare herself for the second half of her 100 meter race, to prepare herself for the second half of her 200, right? She really wants to be competitive where she maybe shuts out the entire 100 meter field. What she did in Paris last year was a clear show of dominance where she shut down that entire field, basically from gun to tape. And we know some of the other athletes, whether it's a Sha'Carri Richardson or a Daryll Neita, right? Maybe their starts aren't as strong, but Julien Alfred, she wants to make sure her second half is just as strong as any other athlete in that field. And these 300s, these 400s, that's really going to carry over when we get to Tokyo at the end of the year. The big thing that I see for Julien Alfred is, will she be able to get into the 10.6s, which if some of these other women are firing on all cylinders, they're definitely going to be running in that realm. And on top of that, will she be able to, in the 200, get into the 21.8s, 21.7s, a little more consistent than she has shown, you know, in the past year or so? That's going to be a big thing for Julien Alfred. Also, another factor that is a very big positive, something that some of the other women have, is that she doesn't have to worry about a trials or qualifying or anything like that. She already has a spot because she competes for St. Lucia. She's going to the World Championships. So her entire season is focused on essentially that one singular meet. She's, of course, not in Grand Slam track, at least as a racer. Maybe she pops as a challenger at some point, but regardless, her focus is the World Championships in September. So her entire season is going to be geared towards that. Based on how she started off indoors, running those 300s and 400s, also how she's ran the 300 in Miramar early on, I think that this is going to bode very well for what she might be able to do going into the World Champs. 100, I think that Julien Alfred is the favorite by an edge, but you do have Sha'Carri Richardson, who is the next athlete who's going to be very competitive. Now, Sha'Carri, she got the silver medal at the Olympic Games last year behind Julien Alfred, has a personal best in the 100 of 10.65 seconds, which she ran in 2023 when she got the gold medal at those World Championships in Budapest. Notable because she's a world champion, that means she doesn't have to worry about qualifying at the USA Championships, you know, later on this summer. She can also just solely focus on Worlds in Tokyo later on this year, similar to Julien Alfred. Now, if Sha'Carri is also going to want to compete in the 200, then she'll have to qualify at USA's, which she'll probably run that at USA's regardless, because, you know, you have to, you know, show fitness or whatever it is from USA, you know, USATF rules and stuff like that. But I think that she's going to be able to really focus in. Now, the big thing for Sha'Carri Richardson is her start, where she probably is one of the weakest starters, not only in terms of, you know, her first 10 to 20 meters, but also her reaction time. From the Olympic Games, Sha'Carri Richardson had some of the worst reaction times out of any athlete in the 100 meter dash, man or woman, which is crazy. So that also kind of does speak to her talent, where she was still able to execute and get a silver medal, you know, despite her really poor starts. And you can see that she's just not consistent at all. The Budapest World Championships in that 100 meter final, that was probably her best start, you know, that we've seen in the past couple years. But at the Olympic trials last year, at the Olympic Games, we just haven't seen those consistent starts. but she has been able to, beat out athletes like a Julien Alfred, like a Shericka Jackson. She's been able to beat out some of these tough top athletes multiple times over the past couple years. For example, at the 2023 season, she dominated the circuit. When talking about the Diamond League, she actually dominated the circuit, beating Shericka Jackson a couple times, of course, then going to Worlds and actually beating her out, going to, some other races and actually beating people out. Now, she did lose, I think, at the Prefontaine Classic that year, but then look at 2024. Yes, she lost to Julien Alfred at the Olympic Games in the 100, which is the race that actually matters, but she did beat Julien at the Prefontaine Classic early in the year. After the Olympic Games at the Zurich Diamond League, Sha'Carri Richardson beat out Julien Alfred. She did lose at the Brussels Diamond League, but all these things factor into that Sha'Carri Richardson is still one of the best, regardless. Whether you like her or not, she is still one of the most talented athletes and is easily able to drop a 10.6 if she is in really, really good form. So we'll see how she plays out here. 200, a little bit of a mixed bag. She has a personal best of 21.92, so we'll see how she kind of translates things there if she does qualify for the USA team, which is going to be very, very tough. Now, after that, though she's been injured, Shericka Jackson. Shericka Jackson, 100 meters, man, she is easily one of the most talented athletes. 10.65 seconds, which she ran back in 2023 at Jamaican Championships. She went on to get the silver medal actually in back-to-back years. 2022 got the silver behind Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. 2023 got the silver medal behind Sha'Carri Richardson. 2021 at the Olympic Games, she actually got the bronze medal behind Elaine Thompson-Herah as well as Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. So Shericka Jackson, since 2021 when she dropped down into the 100-200, coming down from the 400, she has been a mainstay in the 100-meter dash. The only thing is she does not yet have a gold medal in the event. Last year, she unfortunately got injured, prior to the Olympic Games and really throughout the entire season. So we didn't get to see her actually compete in Paris. So we don't necessarily know where she fully is right now. Yes, we did see her run that 36.1 behind Julien Alfred at Miramar, but I'm still waiting to see where her true fitness is. Of course, she's clearly playing the long game in terms of, all right, World Championships is in September, so I'm going to have a little more time and a little more leeway to focus on that. But she doesn't have a wild card to the World Championships in the 100, though she does have it in the 200. So that'll be interesting to see how she kind of plays out, her season, knowing that she has that wild card in the 200. Maybe she doesn't have to, be in top peak form for Jamaican trials, and then she can kind of just have a little light peak before going to Tokyo. 200, I mean, if she's healthy, she is the clear favorite. You're talking about 21.41 seconds to win the gold medal in Budapest, in 2023. Prior to that, she had run 21.45 seconds at the World Championships in 2022. Back-to-back world champion in the 200. We're looking at World Championships now. Shericka Jackson very much in that conversation, but health is a very, very big question. Now, along with that, let's talk about Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. My opinion is a 100-meter GOAT. Two-time Olympic champion from 2008 and 2012. Five-time world champion from 2009 to 2013, 2015, 2019, and 2022. That's something that no other woman, I don't even think any man has actually been able to do that in the 100-meter dash. So she is my GOAT. Personal best of 10.60 seconds, but the last time she got a medal was 2023. She was injured that season, finished third behind Sha'Carri Richardson and Shericka Jackson. Last year, she also did qualify for the Olympic team, where she actually ran a best of 10.91 seconds at Jamaican Championships, but there was the drama at the Olympic Games. She made it through the heats, got to the semifinals, but unfortunately did not line up because of, still to this day, we actually don't know why she didn't line up. So Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, we'll see how she kind of does treat, her last season. Check out the video that I just did where, I played the quick clip that she posted on Instagram saying that she has some unfinished business. Let's see. Shelly-Ann, she's a GOAT, but it's going to be very, very tough to see how she navigates, this 2025 season, considering the landscape of, the women who are competing right now. One of those women who also is in this conversation is Melissa Jefferson from the United States. Olympic bronze medalist in that 100-meter dash behind Julien Alfred and behind Sha'Carri Richardson. She has a personal best of 10.80 seconds, which she ran at the Olympic trials last year behind Sha'Carri Richardson. But Melissa is really turning into one of the top athletes, almost quietly in a sense, where, yes, she came out of Coastal Carolina and won the USA Championships in 2022. She made the World Championship final in Eugene that year as well. But since then, she's kind of been a little quiet under the radar. She's not overly out there or anything like that. She's very calm and reserved, though she does have a very, very strong personality, and Melissa is absolutely amazing. But she, of course, doesn't get as much attention, but she's very, very dangerous. So Melissa Jefferson, she's one that I'm looking forward to seeing if she's able to improve to get into those 10.7s and maybe push into, some of those other athletes, between a Julien Alfred, between a Sha'Carri Richardson, if Shericka Jackson is healthy. 10.6 may be a long shot, but who knows? Melissa Jefferson has some untapped talent. And since she's running in Grand Slam track, where she's running both the 100s and the 200s, I know that, Coach Dennis Mitchell is working with her to ensure that she's not only ready for Grand Slam track, but also ready for the World Championship. So Melissa Jefferson, she's another one. Along with that, Daryll Neita. Daryll Neita, she's been a mainstay in the 100-meter dash over the past, 4 or 5 years at this point. 2021 at the Tokyo Olympic Games, she made the 100-meter final. Though she finished last place there, 4 years later at the 2024 Olympic Games, she finished 4th place, only behind Julien, Sha'Carri, and Melissa Jefferson. So she is very much in the conversation to be able to really be on the cusp of getting onto the podium. Though she doesn't have a medal, an individual medal of any color yet, tons and tons of relay medals, she is very hungry. She's looking to, potentially get on that podium. She just moved from, Coach Marco Irali, training in Italy, down to Lance Brahman in Florida, training with like Gina Lukenkemper, with Janelle Broomfield. Of course, that's like Noah Lyles, Jim Richards, all those guys are in the group as well. So we'll see how that change kind of does play for her. Her personal best is 10.90 seconds, so not really as fast as you might think relative to some other women, but she's been able to make various different finals. Again, Tokyo Olympic Games, she made the 2023 final where she finished 5th place at the World Championships, and I think in 2024, of course, she finished 4th place. So Daryll Neita, she's in that conversation. Also in the 200, very much in the conversation as well. She's in Grand Slam track, along with Melissa Jefferson, along with Brittany Brown, who we'll talk about in a second. So she's in there with some of these other women. So we'll see how things actually do kind of play out as we go throughout the rest of the year. But let's stick with the Great Britain women and Dina Asher-Smith. Dina Asher-Smith has been very interesting over the past couple years, where the last time she was on the podium was 2022. She got a bronze in the 200, but in the 100, 2019, she got a silver there in Doha behind Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. Since then, she really hasn't been hitting those marks or, really showing up at the global championships like we might have expected her to, where the past 2 Olympics, she actually was injured in Tokyo, so wasn't able to, go through the rounds in the 100. Then in 2024, last year, she didn't make the final in the 100. She only made it into semifinals. Despite having a personal best of 10.83 seconds, Dina Asher-Smith really hasn't been in the conversation as much as, she would like, of course, and then probably as much as some other people would expect. Now, she has been also doing some, longer distances, similar to Julien Alfred. They, of course, trained together with Coach Flo, where we saw her in the long sprints group in Grand Slam track, both the 200 and the 400. Also indoors, she was running the 3s, she was running 4s, so she has been doing some longer distances, and I think the goal for her is to see if she can really improve her strength, improve her stamina, improve her her speed, endurance, and all those elements to be able to be competitive with the rest of this field. It looks like a lot of these younger women are starting to run a little bit farther up on Dina Asher-Smith, but she is still very, very competitive, so we'll see how things kind of play out. Don't forget, in the 200 at the Olympics, she did get 4th place, just behind the podium there, so she still is in the conversation, but we'll see. Now, a couple others. Tia Clayton, right? She got 7th place at the Olympics last year in the 100-meter dash. She has a personal best of 10.86 seconds. She also ran 10.8, I think, at the Polish Diamond League, where she beat out a very highly competitive field there, including, I think, Sha'Carri Richardson and a couple other women as well. So Tia Clayton, still extremely young. She beat out Shericka Jackson in the semifinals at Jamaican Championships last year. So very much on the rise. She's going to be pushed by, her teammates like a Tina Clayton, right? Her sister, or Brianna Liston, or, all these other young Jamaican athletes who Tia Clayton is, kind of being competitive with. But Tia has made it to the Olympic final. Tia has made it to various Diamond Leagues. Tia has won Diamond Leagues. She's competed with the best. So we'll see how she kind of does fare as we look forward in 2025. But Tia, do not sleep on what she's capable of. Along with that, Terry. Terry finished 5th place at the Olympic Games, behind only Julien Alfred, Sha'Carri Richardson, Melissa Jefferson, and Daryll Neita. So she very much is in the mix. Personal best of 10.81 seconds in that 100. So she's on the cusp of breaking into the 10.7s. Like I said, with someone like Melissa or Daryll or whoever, it's going to take a lot to get down to those 10.6s, which, the top 3, Julien, Sha'Carri, and Shericka, are very much capable of. So TT, looking for not necessarily a breakthrough, but to really see her, show what she's capable of, right? Show the talent that we know she is very much capable of. She was even injured last year, early in the season. So for her to be able to make the Olympic final, huge kudos to TT, but the 100-meter field is very stacked. So we'll see how she does kind of play things out. Now, last two who might be in the conversation, Mujinga Kambundji, she just came off winning the world indoor gold in the 60-meter dash. Outdoors in the 100, she's never gotten a medal, but she has made the past 2 Olympic Games finals, 2021 in Tokyo, 2024 in Paris, and she made the 2022 World Championship final in Eugene that year as well. So Mujinga Kambundji is easily one of the more consistent athletes across the board when talking about the 100, and again, with the 60, two-time world indoor champion, but she only has a personal best of 10.89 seconds. So that's not truly competitive as it would need to be able to, get on those podiums, but who knows? She's able to be consistent and make those finals. In the 200, she actually has a bronze medal from 2019. Now, that's some years ago, but she's been on the podium. She's seen what it's like to be able to be, amongst the best there. So I don't know. We'll see how she kind of does fare. Only personal best there of 22.05. So not very fast, but who knows? She could be a threat. And then Josee Ta Lou, not sure exactly her plans for 2025. I understand. Well, I don't know. I don't know where her plans are for 2025, but if she is in the mix, she is going to be a very strong force. 10.72 personal best, which she ran a couple years ago, but she's made basically every single final over the past couple years. Now, she does have a silver medal from 2017. She has a bronze medal from 2019, so a little bit far removed from those medals, but you can never count her out when she is, in form, when she's in the mix. Yes, similar to like Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, she's a little bit on the older end in terms of like the second half of her career. So Ta Lou very much kind of managing her health and making sure that she's, in the best form as possible. So we'll see. Now, a few other women I did want to quickly mention when it relates to the 200 meters because, it's just as stacked. Someone like Julien Alfred is going to be in that conversation, but Gabby Thomas is going to be the front runner here. Even, when we're talking about the rest of the field, Gabby Thomas is in there. She is, of course, the Olympic gold medalist. She's a world championship silver medalist, and she's in Grand Slam track dominating based on what she just did in the 400 in Grand Slam track, hitting a personal best of 49.1. I mean, that is only going to bode well for, her capabilities going into the rest of the year, where she's going to be one of the favorites to potentially not only win gold in the 200, but maybe even improve on her personal best of 21.60. Now, throwing Shericka Jackson into the mix does really complicate things because if Shericka Jackson is healthy, then to me, it's a foregone conclusion. She is a favorite, but don't sleep on Gabby Thomas's capabilities. She's clearly getting faster. She's clearly getting better. And if she's running better in these 400s, then that means that her overall 200 is going to be improving. Her speed endurance, something that if Shericka Jackson is off the curve ahead of you, it's like you're done, right? Shericka Jackson is walking away. But if Gabby Thomas is improving there, then maybe she might be able to, again, dip under her personal best of 21.6, get into those 21.5s, maybe 21.4s. I'm not saying that's 100% going to happen, and I'm not even saying that's going to happen at Tokyo, but what I do mean is that it's probably going to make her a little bit more consistent in the 21.7 range or something like that. Check what Gabby Thomas did last year. She was very consistent running 21.8 and 21.7, I think one time in the season. So she really has improved in 2024. It's interesting because Shericka Jackson wasn't there to really compete with Gabby, so it kind of skews like her performances to a degree, but Gabby Thomas was very consistent last year. So don't sleep on what she's capable of as she's getting better, as she's running Grand Slam track. I think in Miami she said she wants to run the short sprints group, the 100 and the 200. So who knows? Gabby Thomas, she is a threat. I think she is a 200 meter favorite going into Tokyo this year, but all things pending depending on Shericka Jackson if she gets healthy. So we'll see. Now, three others I want to throw into the mix here. Already spoke about like Dina Asher-Smith, already spoke about like Daryll Neita, but let's talk about Brittany Brown. Brittany Brown can never be slept on. Never be slept on. She got the bronze medal at the Olympic Games last year, only behind Gabby Thomas and Julien Alfred. She only has a personal best of 21.90 in the 200 and 10.90 in the 100. But I almost feel like Brittany Brown kind of like overperforms the numbers that you might see on paper. 21.90 is not as fast as you might expect, but Brittany Brown always shows up when it counts the most. So she is going to be a problem in 2025, and I know that she wants to go for more. She doesn't want to get another bronze medal. She wants to go for a silver or a gold. Now, granted, I'm not picking Brittany Brown for a gold medal, but it's gonna be a fight. And let's not forget, she got bronze last year in Paris. She got the silver medal in 2019. So she knows what these podiums are like. So we'll see. Brittany Brown is in there. McKenzie Long, also in the conversation. She made the Olympic team last year for the United States. Personal best of 21.83 seconds. She's also run 10.91 in the 100. She made the final at the Olympic Games last year, but she only, she finished, all the way in the back of the pack, but she was in lane 1 in that Olympic final. But McKenzie Long is one who I think is going to have some really, really strong chops and really kind of shake things up as a new professional. She actually, of course she was at Ole Miss. Her coach moved down to Florida. So she's still with her same coach, but now training down in Florida. Maybe she has, some insight from Coach Holloway there. Who knows? But McKenzie Long is one to look out for. Last person to keep an eye out for is Abby Steiner. Now, Abby Steiner, of course, had been injured, the past 2 years, right? Since 2023, that's when she got injured, or she really got injured that year. And then 2024, she was injured again. So she hasn't been doing as well, though she did make the U.S. Olympic trials final last year, and she did pretty decent. I would say decent. She ran 22 seconds. So we'll see how she kind of does fare. But Abby Steiner has run 21.77 seconds, personal best, again, from back in 2022. She went on to the World Championships and actually finished in 5th place at those games. So she has some strong chops where she's able to mix it up with the best. But the health is the key thing here. Abby Steiner needs to make sure, of course, she's had surgery. She's, gotten healthy, had to go back to surgery. Like, she's had so many ups and downs over the past 2 years. But if she gets healthy, she might be one of the best in the world. She would very likely be contending for a gold medal. She'd be in that conversation, or at least she has the capabilities to be in that conversation. Shericka, Gabby, I feel like they're on another level in a sense, but Abby Steiner really does have some, potential and some chops, but she needs to get healthy. That's the biggest thing. If she's not healthy, then can't put her in that conversation. So we'll see. But just wanted to kind of lay things out. I know this is, definitely took a while, but I wanted to kind of just assess the landscape, talk through who are some of the top women, as we look forward to the 100 and the 200 throughout the 2025 season. And as we're looking forward to the Tokyo World Championships, which is going down all the way in September. Many of these women, like Gabby Thomas or like a Melissa Jefferson, they're in Grand Slam track. Whereas others like Shericka Jackson or Julien Alfred or Sha'Carri Richardson, they're not running Grand Slam track. So it's going to be interesting to see how those dynamics play out throughout the rest of the season when we start to see some of these matchups, maybe at Prefontaine Classic, the Diamond Leagues before the World Champs, and ultimately when we do get to Tokyo. So let me know what you think about the current landscape and the current women who are some of the favorites in the 100 and the 200. Do you think that Julien Alfred is the gold medal favorite going into Tokyo? Do you think that Gabby Thomas is the 200-meter favorite going into Tokyo? Or do you think that Shericka Jackson is going to get healthy? Do you think that Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is going to be able to get a medal, a really good send-off, for her last season of her career? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Always appreciate y'all, and thanks for watching.